I'm teaching 2 classes now. One is around 100 and one is around 250.
In my own department, we've tripled in size in the last 3 years. We just need to move to a larger room. We don't have enough faculty to teach the same thing 3 times.
We have about 1,900 students enrolled each term. In this very large class, I remind them right there that every single one of them is my student.
The active learning strategies that are used for small groups can absolutely be implemented for large classes. You can take ideas that you normally do with a class of 18 or 20 students, and you can scale that to 50, 100, 250, and even larger.
When I first was teaching, I was a traditional lecturer. I solved a lot of problems in front of students, but that was for the students like watching television, and they got about as much out of it. And so I began introducing active learning techniques where you have students explore a topic first, and then you teach them about it, and then they have to go solve. So that's the full learning cycle.
I want you to watch this video, and I'm going to describe to you what you're seeing. That's pure drinking water, and he's dumping into that gasoline. Now check this out. There's the oil. A sheet of solid oil. I think the start of a class is essential. You can kill a class energy by starting off by having everyone quiet down and talking to them. If you want engagement, you want them to start off engaged right away. Based on what we have described on intermolecular forces, can you build a fundamental explanation for how one of those processes works? I'll give you 2 minutes and I want to hear from some people. Go ahead, please. What do you think?
Increase the intermolecular forces so they all
Allow the students to get used to the idea of working in groups or sharing ideas, because at first it's going to be a little bit awkward. In particular, if you've been lecturing to them, the transition can be tough.
Is there a maximum number of people that can collaborate and effectively learn? At these tables, 4, maybe 6. With 4, it's really hard to get off task because you're 1/4 of the effort.
We're sitting down at tables, groups of 4 people, you're collaborating back and forth, and it really draws your entire focus to what's going on in the classroom and what you're doing rather than just watching someone else do it.
In the large auditorium setting, we don't have tables where they can all get around and do discussion or teamwork in that lecture setting, but they certainly can turn around and talk to their neighbors.
Please check with your neighbor. Pick out the key word in that clicker question that tells you which is the right answer. Talk it over with them.
I just think working in a group always provides a fresh perspective from someone else, a new way to look at the problem. It gives you a chance to clear up maybe your misunderstandings in a way that's sometimes not possible when you're in a giant auditorium.
Just because you don't have a collaborative learning space doesn't mean that you cannot implement effective active learning. So she said there are more configurations when a system is at a higher temperature. I have a volunteer who would like to share their thinking. Why would you explain this?
So I thought that it was possible that the powder could have stronger intermolecular forces with the gasoline than it did than the water.
There are 2 main factors that impact this. It's not just the strength of the intermolecular forces, but it's also the number of available configurations available through random motion. Why don't you go ahead and grab the whiteboard at your table. Go ahead and construct that Peck diagram and see if you can justify it. I'll give you 4 minutes to do this, please. You absolutely have to circulate and work with the students during these activities. So I'm looking to see, are the students engaged in the activity? Are they producing work? And then I start to look at what the work is that they're producing. And this is key because this is where you start to see misconceptions arising, incorrect answers.
And I don't spend more than maybe 10 seconds at some tables. I'm just looking at what they're doing and I'm filtering where they should be. Did anyone else make a list like Jacob did? And if I'm not monitoring what the students are doing, I'm really missing out on the opportunity to tailor what I'm saying to what they're thinking at that moment.
I see someone wrote dispersion, I agree, but that's not all it. Okay, I saw hydrogen bonding, that's one. But that's not everything. It's dipole, it's hydrogen bonding, yeah? Did I go to a lower or higher potential energy state, Michael? I do make a point to try to get to know as many names as I can, and I try to use those names in class. Sarah?
Because the system favors
low potential energy and high configuration. So
And in large classes, students are often surprised that you know what their name is, and it can draw them in.
Go ahead, 30 seconds. Is that a plausible Peck diagram?
Sometimes putting a time constraint on the students, okay, you've got 30 seconds, go, go, go. It can be an effective way to get them engaged.
All right, so here's a new problem. You might need your book, because you're going to look up some information. This is a group mastery problem. We'll have about 35 minutes to work on this.
Imagine I was on a different planet, and they had a form of sugar. It started to dissolve when you cool the water, but when you put it in, it wouldn't dissolve right at room temperature. Draw the Peck diagram for that alien sugar for me.
We know that the unmixed state needs to be a lower potential energy because it's favored at lower temperatures.
Let me give you a couple minutes here. I want you to predict whether each of those substances will mix or not when they come in contact, and how temperature may impact that mixing. But I'm gonna let you figure that out. Go ahead, I'll give you 3 minutes to work on this. I think the larger the class gets, you need a larger support staff to help you sort of manage the behavior in the class. And those can be teaching assistants or what we call preceptors. And that teaching team is an extension of me in the classroom. They walk around, they interact with students, they help the students with their thinking.
So when you're talking about intermolecular forces, what are you talking about?
So you ask questions, or you ask people to clarify things. You're not giving an answer, but you're guiding thinking and you're guiding engagement.
Why would I go to the unmixed state?
You see a hand go up, and they're not sitting there more than 30 seconds before a preceptor's there saying, all right, what can we help with? Why did we need that? What variable were we trying to get? Was that X or Y? Okay. They're solving it as a group because someone in the group's going to figure it out. And then they'll explain it to everyone, so everyone might rise just a little bit higher.
Oh, and then so this is when the temperature decreased. So all of the water has been vaporized.
Whenever someone can explain something to someone else, it helps both the person who's doing the explaining and also the student who's doing the receiving.
I think a student can feel very lost, where the student is one of 500, and if they're not engaging with other people, when they start to falter, they're out, they drop, they're gone. But if someone else near them says, yeah, I'm really struggling too, then they might stay.
I'm awake, and I'm awake because I'm engaging constantly. In a lecture, I just feel like information's being thrown at me and I'm not absorbing it.
I will look around my entire class and see 260 students all engaged in discourse and debate and working on stuff, and I can see that I've created an environment that engages them in their own learning.
And the more random it is,
Why do we gather students together 2 or 3 times a week over a semester or a quarter? We're now in an age where lectures can be delivered online. What about implementing other ideas or other modalities into the classroom that diversifies the experience, engages the students in critical thinking, and has them involved in their learning, which we know is how the brain works?